As far as it being set in Maine, and nope, that's the only thing it gets right about Stephen King's books, really, yeah. And name-dropping him a ferocious amount. He didn't agree to this.
Horror is king.
Don't you think 2 of our friends dying qualifies us for serious danger?
Not just serious danger.
Stephen King danger.
You can't kill Stephen King.
They introduce 6 generic characters by literally saying how generic they are right on the screen in the opening few minutes. Like calling Lamont the token black friend who only cares about hip-hop and getting white bitches. This was made in 2012. It also calls the trampy girl trampy on screen. It says that the creepy virgin is a creepy virgin, and that the guy who's just being a good boyfriend is pussy whipped. You Can't Kill Stephen King is about a group of, it treats them like teens, but at least one of them has been to war and has PTSD. Anyway, 2 of them inherited a lake house that Stephen King lives nearby. Then a series of murders related to his books start occurring. But when I say that, I mean like 3 murders, and one of them is taken from a random short story of his you've never heard of. One of them is taken from a different book of his that I've never actually heard of, and I've read quite a lot of Stephen King books. And the third is taken from one of the short stories in Night Shift. Yeah, they used Night Shift a bunch of times. And it's just nothing. This is just not a film that knows how to have a good time in general. It wants to make fun of horror tropes, but the writers aren't funny enough to make it work. They don't seem to understand what horror tropes actually are. So most of it is just these 6 characters we desperately hate sitting around in this house, wondering what's going on, arguing with each other, and I hate all of them so much that I just can't get over it. It's just unfunny, unscary. It ends up feeling mean-spirited in the way it tackles anything. And it is literally on the level where I had to take a break every 10-15 minutes to get through it, which is about as bad as I can say a film is, and I don't normally expect a film to be on this level unless it has the word shark in the title. This is one of those low-budget films where the creators are going to continue thinking they're geniuses no matter how bad all the criticism is, because they're like, oh yeah, but we meant for it to have all these cliches and for all the characters to be unbearably annoying, but nobody wants to watch that. That's the problem. Even in comedy horror, if the majority of the film, because there's not, there's only a couple of kill scenes. There are very few murders, and not all of them even get shown on screen. So the majority of the actual film of what you're actually watching isn't, a bunch of Stephen King things coming to life or a bunch of murder scenes. The majority of the film is watching these hideously awful characters arguing, shitting on each other, just generally existing and being as terrible as they are. And nobody wants to watch that. Why did you make every character a huge piece of shit? The ending, holy God, it was enough to create homicidal feelings in you. I can't believe that. I think the worst thing about this is that when you've got a film that's terrible across the board, you kind of go, ow. But when you've got a film that has passable cameras and sound quality and that kind of stuff, and it still manages to be at the bottom of the barrel level, where I would call it worse than some films where you can barely hear certain scenes because the audio quality is so bad and stuff like that. That's the most egregious crime you can commit in filmmaking, because it's actually that bad based on elements they can control, like writing and characters and story. And if it's that bad based purely off those elements, somehow it's just so much worse. At the end of the day, I would have preferred that they spent much less money on the cameras and audio equipment, which was reasonable, and spent it on bringing in somebody to write the film who actually knows Stephen King stuff. Because they clearly had read one book, and the other references and things were mostly just generic, Shining and It references. So I actually can't tell if anyone there had read more than 2 Stephen King books before writing this film, and that is horrifying on every level. I hated it so much, and it's got the worst character ever. The creepy virgin guy isn't even the murderer, and yet he is the worst character I've ever seen in a film. He is so hauntingly in every way. And I can tell he's just indicative of the people that made this. So I'm giving made by incels for incels half a star. It's such a weird choice that they went and got a serious deep cut into one, a short story that even Stephen King fans probably haven't mostly heard of. And that was one of the only 3 or 4 kills in the film. what the fuck are you doing here?